The evolution of music. It appears impossible to define music. The best option is to trace it back to its origins. You should be able to answer the question, what is music, after tracing the roots of music. Where the roots begin is the question. We're going to take you on a musical journey through time. How far can you go? How does 800,000 years sound? That's correct. Music can be traced back to that period. Also from that era is the first definition of music. For our introductions, we're going to define music generally with the understanding that we have of it now. However, you will discover that the definitions of music vary slightly depending on the era, particularly because the methods of creating music have changed. Let's dive into the video to know the evolution of music. Here we go. The first note, how did music begin? To learn more about the origins of music, we must go back to prehistoric times. The first period we must investigate is the late Acheulean. This occurred between 800 and 250,000 years ago. According to fossil research, ancient hominins were capable of producing sounds similar to ours. These proto-humans were capable of producing vocal sounds associated with singing and music. Between 600 and 800,000 years ago, these proto-humans were thought to have existed. This Homo heidelbergensis is thought to have had executive control over its vocal sounds. Indeed, some believe that even earlier descendants possessed linguistic and vocal abilities, implying that they could produce vocal music-like sounds of varying pitches. Knowing these proto-humans were capable of this opens the door to accepting that they were capable of producing music in the same way we do today. These proto-humans evolved further over time. Fire is an important factor that we must now consider. You may wonder what fire has to do with music. On the other hand, the fire was essential to those who lived during these times. The ability to start and maintain a fire provided proto-humans warmth, light, safety, a more varied diet, and more social time. They may not appear to have had any leisure time. Weren't they too busy trying to survive and hide from predators? However, it is critical to remember that we are descended from these people. Human nature requires socializations. This includes the earliest humans. Fires allowed these beings to eat more slowly. They could cook food to make it easier to chew and digest, giving them more time to interact with one another, perhaps while sitting around the fire. Of course, this implies that some of the earliest instances of meal sharing and social eating may have occurred. This music is more likely to have been social proto-music, and it would have built on the sounds that early hominins could produce. It appears entirely plausible then that music similar to what we know today could have developed during the late Acheulean era. As our ancestors became more social, they likely began to use their ability to manipulate or produce sounds to create music. It is possible that the purpose of music was cohesion between parent and child, cohesion between father and mother, cohesion between one family and the next, and thus the creations of the entire organizations of society. It appears to have resulted from these beings becoming more social, taking on responsibilities such as gathering firewood, and wanting to communicate through alternative means because they couldn't communicate through language. Prototypes of today's percussion instruments most likely inspired another early form of music making. As we know, these early humans were most likely capable of singing. The ability to manipulate sound in this way implies that rhythm existed before melody and tune as we know it today. This is why the concept of percussion-like instruments has received so much attention. All of these proto-humans could have made these percussion instruments out of sticks, rocks, and other hard surfaces. They most likely rhythmically used these items, producing a sound that others in their groups could easily imitate. This could have been used in ritualistic ceremonies, particularly among tribes. We know these things happen. This is the only speculations, but experts hold it all over the world. Moreover, these percussion prototypes appears to be a real possibility based on archaeological findings and other discoveries artifacts. Ancient Greece and Ancient Rome. As society began to resemble the society we know today, the importance of social gatherings centered on feasting and drinking grew. These feasts were accompanied by music and other forms of entertainment such as dancing. Classical antiquity as well as ancient Greece and Rome spanned such vast periods. To discuss them and their music in depth would necessitate an epic novel. For the purpose of these brief examinations of the music of this era and how it relates to the larger picture, we will only take a cursory look at the era. The ancient Romans were known for their extravagant taste. Wine and dining practically began there. Ancient Roman celebrations could last for days with plenty of entertainment to accompany the food. Indeed, Roman banquets were described as a sensory feast. Of course, food and drink were important, but the entertainment aspect truly intended to impress the guests. Therefore, instruments were frequently used in musical performances. Because the flute was one of the first instruments, it was prominently featured. Other instruments, such as the lyre and water organ, were also used. They frequently had choirs and choral pieces, which mean a lot of vocal exercises for choirs. Some more affluent people may have hired cooks who could sing in addition to serving and cooking the food. Music as an accompaniment to food was just as important in ancient Greece. The Greeks were also known for lavish celebrations, employing the same instruments as the ancient Romans. The lyre was frequently used to accompany Greek lyrical poetry that was performed at feasts. They also made use of the harp and the sistrum. In addition, the ancient Greeks revered gods and goddesses, many of whom were associated with music. Pan was frequently depicted holding panpipes, and Apollo was thought to represent music and harmony. The Greeks composed a variety of songs such as hymns to the gods and goddesses and dithyrambs for celebrations in honors of Dionysus. The ancient Greeks and Romans both started the ball rolling with their shared love of dinner entertainment, cementing the need for dinner party music and the importance of being entertained for the rest of time. In addition, both cultures enjoyed theater performances, paving the way for today's musicals and plays. Music in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Music advanced quickly during the Middle Ages. Instruments from the Greek and Roman eras were also used in the Middle Ages. There are many more. Many of them are very similar to instruments that we still have today. For example, lutes, flutes, lyres, harps, and even early guitar-like instruments like the mandor and citole were available. Religion was a major theme in many musical genres. Monks performed Gregorian chants, which evolved from monophonic to polyphonic chants with harmonies and instruments. Liturgical drama and plain chants were other popular genre. This was some sort of Gregorian chant. These were performed in polyphonic style. The Winchester Troper, a manuscript of tropes used at Winchester Cathedral, is the best example. This was a popular style of singing in England at the time. During the Middle Ages, troubadours rose to prominence, singing about courtly love, women, chivalry, and war. The future. Music's early history is colorful and rich. The earliest instruments were most likely percussion instruments made of stone and sticks. The first type was not likely a flute. While these inventions were pre-melody, they most likely kept rhythm, and they clearly had an impact on all subsequent music. The importance of socializing aided the emergence of music as proto-humans evolved into more social creatures. Music was used for social interactions and religious purposes in hunter-gatherer societies, influencing subsequent cultures. The rise of the ancient Roman Empire and the influence of the ancient Greeks cemented music's place as a form of entertainment in our collective human nature. Today's music, while very different from Gregorian chants, lyrical poetry, and lyre playing of the past, exists for the same reasons. It's a way of interacting with others, expressing oneself and one's community, religious devotions, or even promoting health. The most important aspect is that it is a form of entertainment. What do you think about the evolution of music? Let us know in the comments below and share for more.